the touch of your lips, dear, but much more for the touch of your whips, dear. You can raise welts like nobody else as we dance to the masochism tango.
Hello, world, and welcome to Hourgasm. This is the podcast where we talk about decolonizing sexuality and gender. I am Lynsey G, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, or they, them, theirs.
And I am Lenny Peppers. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
And tonight, we're going to talk about fashion as it pertains to all of the things that we talk about on this show. So it's going to be a big episode. We're psyched. But before we get into it, I think Lenny has a disclaimer that she wants to put on this recording.
Yeah. So at the beginning of our podcast, I've been putting this new recording up to just kind of explain that we use heteronormative terms of gender binary of men and women under the understanding that there are agender, androgynous, bigender, pangender, and gender fluid norms that exist outside of cisnormativity. While we tend to use male and female as shorthand, this is not meant to undermine the very serious role of colonization and violence against two-spirit and non-conforming individuals. Even more so, this is not meant to obscure the reality that two-spirit and non-conforming people are the most likely to experience sexual violence, as we have mentioned in earlier episodes. And we do not believe in the gender binary without fluidity, which is a Euro-Western construct that forced a strict gender division on our societies, which itself is a form of violence.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lenny. That will hopefully keep us from going off on too many tangents where we're trying to explain exactly what we mean.
Yeah.
So, okay, here we are. We're going to talk about fashion. This is a huge topic. I mean, there's like so many directions to go in. But obviously, we're coming at it from a decolonization perspective. So, where do we start on decolonizing fashion?
Well, fashion and clothing are basically an essential part of portraying somebody's identity. And so maybe we can talk about like what we mean by fashion.
Yeah, okay. I'll take a stab at it. I don't have anything written down for what I think fashion means. So this is totally just me pulling something out of my butt.
And also, like, we're not by any means like experts in this. We do know what we're talking about. We have backgrounds in Native American history, decolonization, sex and sexuality and gender and queer studies. But I mean, we're also just two people on a podcast.
Right.
So...
Yes. We're not, I'm definitely not a fashion expert. I will be very honest when I say that fashion as a concept and as an industry has always felt a little bit like beyond my grasp. Like I definitely like to express myself through clothing and appearance, but I don't like follow along with it. I don't know who the designers are. I don't keep up with, what's on the runways this season or anything like that. So I've always felt like a little bit of an outsider in that way. Like it's just not my natural stomping ground, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it kind of mystifies me. The fashion industry particularly kind of mystifies me.
I do know a little, I guess, about this topic because I study tribal critical race theory in art and media, and fashion falls within like my very like narrowed like niche of like studies. And so it was about like 3 years ago I decided that I was going to start designing fashion because I don't feel like I can talk about these things and say that I'm study like all of art and media when I don't actually do like a hands-on approach to it. And so about 3 years ago, I started like looking into different Indigenous fashion designers and kind of looked at like what the industry has done in the direction of representing race and minorities and specifically Native Americans. And so I started like dressing up more. I started like finding my own identity using fashion. And I basically found that fashion is political, and it's a really great way to like show rebellion from the status quo and to show resilience as tribal people. And so I found it as a really like beautiful way to, you know, represent not only myself, but my tribe.
Huh. That's wonderful to hear, because when you first were saying like how fashion has represented Indigenous people, I was like, oh God. And I'm just like immediately picturing those Victoria's Secret fashion shows with
Yep.
the headdresses and the lingerie, and just like, oh God.
Yeah, there's like tons and tons of different things. There was Gap came out one year with shirts that said Manifest Destiny on them.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Why?
Because some people still find they were like manifest destiny, but they like also somebody must have just heard the term in like a context where it was seen as a good thing, probably in an American history class, and
oh my God,
and just assumed that it was a good thing like this entire time,
and then managed to like bring that idea up to whoever clears those ideas, who then had to take that idea to probably some board meeting where everyone there had to agree that that was a good idea. Like,
yep.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Think about how many people, and part of the problem is that we don't have a lot of Native American people sitting in those rooms who can like stand up and say, this is wrong. First off, we just don't have people in those rooms. Even today, we don't have enough people in those rooms to say that this is wrong. And second off, if you're the only Native person in that room who would say that this is wrong, there's always a chance that there will be repercussions for speaking out about it.
Right. Yeah. Like you'll be like, oh God, this person who never shuts up about issues that affect their people.
Oh, yeah, that's me. Yawn. I'm that person in a lot of rooms.
Good for you.
And it's not fun to be that person, and you don't want to speak out all the time about it.
Yeah.
But
it's exhausting, right?
Yeah. I think like an important thing in like the place where I'm where I'm able to have that voice, that it would be wrong for me not to speak out. It's like my obligation to society to like call that out. And everybody should be doing it, really. It's wrong if you don't call out things like this.
Right. Not everybody has the courage to do it. Obviously, well, either just nobody knew that putting Manifest Destiny on a shirt was a bad idea, or somebody didn't say something somewhere along the way.
Yeah. Or putting a war bonnet on a supermodel. Right. You know.
In her lingerie.
Like yep. And I totally have some stuff to say about that.
Yeah.
I have lots and lots and lots of stuff to say about that. But so I'm not like trying to say that like, oh, fashion is bad. I mean, obviously like fashion has been like both, because fashion is a thing. It's a tool that we use to represent ourselves, or even to like show control over people, or sometimes you can do things without even realizing you're doing it.
Yeah.
And there is a problem with racism in fashion.
Yeah.
Fashion is often used to normalize racism against Native Americans, for instance. Like, how, you may ask?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I swear. I'm here.
Essentially, Native imagery is constructed and controlled by non-Natives. So that's like where this all starts, is like, it can be a good thing if you can have control over it and be able to use it for what you want to use it for. But just like anything else, when people do not get a say in how they're represented, it's actually violence, and it's damaging to entire groups of people. And so, and it's not just Victoria's Secret. There's several different lingerie places that are guilty of this, not just lingerie places, but we're going to pick on lingerie places for this episode. And then I could probably get into like more on other specific things later on. But this one is really important. I haven't been able to shop for lingerie because it's always a danger for me to go onto a site to try and find something sexy to like wear for myself. And to like stumble across like Native American lingerie, like lingerie, not Native American lingerie, lingerie that like hypersexualizes Native American bodies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And
kind of what I
so,
think with the Victoria's Secret thing is like, you know, there's like this very clearly like white woman on this runway
yeah,
wearing like hypersexualized lingerie, which, you know, fine, that's her job, but then also
yeah,
like this giant like bastardized native headdress.
yeah.
And like what are you, why did you decide to put that headdress on that model? Like
hmm
what do these things have to do with each other, and why are you trying to force them together here?
Exploitation. This is $1 million industry.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes down to, is it comes down to money. Uh, and like I said, just like anything else, when people don't get a say in how they are represented, it's violent. But people still continue to sell costumes, and these are costumes. They are not they don't represent Native American people at all. That disparage Native women and reduce us to sexual objects. And while I know that that's the purpose of lingerie, that's not disparaging Native women is not. There's money being made off of disparaging Native women.
Yeah.
It's problematic because we're in the middle of a sexual genocide.
Right, with MMIW. Well,
Right.
MMIP?
I say MMIP because we've talked about this.
Yes.
Like so many, it's not just women, it's children. There are two-spirit and non-gendered people and men all disappearing.
Yeah.
And more likely to be sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
More than half of us have had direct experience with sexual violence, including myself. And homicide is the third leading cause of death for Native women.
Wow.
And that's, it's still up there even with COVID today. So Native women have less control over our bodies medically. And this is in recent history where we haven't been able to, like, we have been sterilized, don't have access to good health care, things like that. I once had a woman at the Indian Health Service tell me that uterine cancer doesn't exist when I was telling her why my mom had a hysterectomy when giving her my family history.
That uterine cancer doesn't exist?
Yeah.
The uteruses just don't get cancer.
Yeah.
It's the only body part that just doesn't get cancer.
Yes.
Okay. Sure.
And I was trying to like justify why I needed a pap smear in this. I mean, this is in my 30s.
Wow.
And she said that I was too young and that I wouldn't have to worry about that. And so this is a problem. Like, these things are problems for Native women. And when you can't get taken seriously about like your body because it's been hypersexualized, you're not going to be taken seriously anywhere, including in the medical industry.
Yeah, good point.
But one company spokesperson for a lingerie company actually tried to justify like selling them. And they said the costumes are influenced by powerful fashion elements derived from the culture and are intended to pay homage to the Native American community, not to mock or offend. And so,
yep, that tracks absolutely. Like rhinestone encrusted bras are clearly part of Native American culture, which is only one culture, by the way. It's the culture.
Yeah. It's a form of erasure to like say Native American people when there's so many different tribes. Essentially, this type of fashion perpetuates oppression. And it diminishes our cultures and it strips away our humanity and it remakes us in the image it desires. Not the image that we desire. And it erases who we